What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. I'm your host Craig. As always, we've got a packed show for you. Loads of stuff to get through tonight. Of course, going to start with some bad news. The world did lose another legend today, unfortunately. Somebody that has impacted my life a lot, actually, over the years, and somebody whose music I turned to whenever I felt down. And DMX, unfortunately, passed away. A lot of younger people, might not be as aware of DMX's music as much as I would be, but his song Slippin' has helped me through so many tough times as well. So, very sad news to hear that he passed away age 50 today after a heart attack. And, of course, Prince Philip passed away as well today. So, condolences all around on those ones, folks. But look, how are we? Loads to get through tonight. Obviously, there's a Premier League game on right at the moment, but I thought I'd rather be here with you guys talking about Liverpool and looking towards the weekend. Massive game tomorrow coming up against Aston Villa. 3 p.m. kickoff. I will, of course, be hosting a watch along of it here on Anfield Agenda, so I hope you guys can join me for that one. And post-match show coming up as well after that. And then on Mundo Sporto tomorrow night, ladies and gents, I'll be covering El Clasico, Barcelona, Real Madrid. So I hope you can join me for that one as well. And look, we'll talk about Konate. We'll talk about possible starting 11s for tomorrow as well. I did put out the video earlier on today with my score predictions and starting 11 predictions. And Jack Gill caught up with Leon from Boyle Sports for a little chat as well. So hope you guys get a chance to go over and check that one out. The video went up, I think, lunchtime this afternoon. So if you do get a chance, please do go and check it out. Right, ladies and gentlemen, where do we want to go with this? Well, let's start with Konate, shall we? Because that's what a lot of people are probably tuning in to wonder about. A lot of people wondering, hang on, I thought Konate had a release clause. Because like me, again, we find these things out as days go by. We thought that there was a €40 million release clause in Konate's contract. But, according to Christian Falk of Build, that release clause could actually be lower. So Christian Falk has said that the release clause is actually somewhere between 32.5 and €34 million. So, let's say 28 to £30 million, maybe a few quid less than that. So, I said to you guys last week, could we see Michael Edwards perhaps going in here and looking to save a few quid? Well, it looks like he might even not need to. If the release clause is that low, then again, this is a transfer that could potentially start to make more and more sense. Now, I'm sure we'll see more on this as the window goes by or as the months and weeks go by, but we do know that Liverpool have an interest in him. We know he's got 1 year left on his Leipzig contract. We know also that somebody from the Leipzig camp has come out and said they phoned Liverpool, and Liverpool said that they've no interest, but, from what I've been told and people close to me that are close to other people seem to suggest that we are actually interested in him. Manchester United rumoured to be interested in him as well, so, keep an eye on it. But that release clause is pretty appealing for somebody who was as young as he is, but as experienced as he is. So I think it's a bargain, to be honest with you. So I hope we do go ahead and trigger that release clause and sign Kabak and have Gomez and have Van Dijk and have Matip if that's the case, or Phillips or whoever Klopp decides. But I'd love to add those two in. I really would, because you're talking about then the guts of just over €50 million, which is about, £42 million, £43 million, something like that, for two of Europe's highly rated up-and-coming centre-back. So be a great piece of business by the football club if they could get it done. So I really do hope that we can. I want to get your thoughts as well on the game tomorrow against Villa. Obviously the big news around that one, ladies and gentlemen, is that Jack Grealish has been ruled out of that game. We know Grealish had been struggling with injury for a while now. It was thought that maybe he'd be back in time for this game, but from our perspective, look, it's a plus. I'm not going to lie, I never want to hear of a player being injured, but a player of Jack Grealish calibre being absent, is beneficial to us. Let's make no bones about it. Villa absolutely handed us our asses earlier on in the season with that 7-2 victory, and no talk of revenge or anything tomorrow. It's just about another 3 points that we need to go and get. We can't drop any more points or many more points between now and the end of the season. 8 cup finals basically to go for Liverpool. We've won a couple of games. We beat Wolves, we beat Arsenal. Hopefully we can continue that good run tomorrow against the Villa side, who, as we said, can perform very well, can have certainly upped their game from last season where they just about staved off relegation. Dean Smith has done very well on the recruitment side as well with Aston Villa, and I'm not expecting an easy afternoon tomorrow at Anfield. But that being said, I do hope and think we're capable of going and getting the 3 points. Some people are going to be asking, should we have one eye on Real Madrid? You've got to sort of have an eye on Real Madrid, but you can't take your eye off the ball in the Premier League because, we don't know, even if we turn over Madrid, even if we do get the goals back, there's no guarantee you're going to want to win their competition. But we do know that if we take care of business in the Premier League and keep picking up points, we will be in that fight for that final fourth spot. Because I don't think anyone's catching Leicester United and City. I could be wrong on that. Leicester have had a bit of a wobble, but it seems to be West Ham, Everton, Liverpool, Spurs fighting for that last spot. And it's going to be difficult, and we have a decent run in comparison to some of our rivals who are playing each other this weekend. United playing Spurs, and I think West Ham playing Leicester as well. So some big games coming up for those sides, and Aston Villa are no mugs, as we found out earlier on in the season. So we got to be at it tomorrow. We got to be 100%. Can't be distracted. Can't let the stories in the media, which I'll touch on a little bit later. There's more destabilising tactics coming out, and I told you guys about the shithouse tactics of some of the media outlets around Europe trying to destabilise us. Well, it continues, unfortunately. What else have we got? I didn't see. No, I don't know what this is about. I'm trying to go through some of your comments. A game for Curtis Jones, I reckon, said Andy. Well, yeah, he's in my predicted 11, mate. When I did it earlier on, I did put him in there instead of Sadio Mané. And that might shock a lot of people, but, I think Sadio Mané hasn't done enough recently, and I think maybe give him a rest. Maybe I don't know what the story is with Sadio, but I think even, the most staunch Sadio Mané fan, of which, look, we all love the front four. We all love them, there's no doubt about it. But Sadio hasn't been himself, and I think maybe the fresh legs of Curtis Jones, somebody who isn't afraid of breaking lines, somebody who knows where the goal is, somebody who is chomping at the bit to impress the manager, and somebody who hasn't had a start in a while now, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind seeing him being given a chance tomorrow, and I'd like to see us set up with a 4-2-3-1. Again, I don't want to give away my predicted 11 because I'd like you guys to go and watch that video, but for me, Curtis Jones in the 4-2-3-1 on the left of that three, possibly in the centre, but I don't mind him coming in off that left of the three behind the Diogo Jota, who'd be through the middle for me. Or1 said your predicted 11 is spot on. Thank you, Butch. Thank you very much, mate. A load of people talking about Ben Davies as well. Davies and Tsimikas seems to be the real strange stories, doesn't it? This season for Liverpool, we I don't know what the hell is going on there with both of them. I mean, Davies could have been a situation of, look, we'll bring him in as absolute backup cover, and then we'll do a deal in the summer that will allow him to move on. He was supposed to, there was a lot of talk that he was going to join Celtic on a pre-contract because he was able to leave free at the end of the season from Preston, so maybe the club will facilitate a move for Davies, and he was brought in as emergency cover. Tsimikas, between injuries and illnesses, we haven't really got a chance to see much of him, and as much as I would love to give Robbo a rest, and I actually have in my predicted 11, I don't know about the Tsimikas situation because I haven't seen enough of him playing for Liverpool to say whether we could get away with making that many changes and putting Kostas Tsimikas in at left back. Nor do I know what his fitness levels are at this moment in time. So it's all guesswork from us when we don't know. We haven't seen too much of the lad. What have we got? Ben Davies is a mascot now, said somebody. I mean, it's not, look, put ourselves in Ben Davies' shoes. If you're Ben Davies and Liverpool Football Club come approaching you, you're going to have to grasp it with both hands, aren't you? Because you're going to want to test yourself. And if nothing else, he's going to be training with world-class players day in and day out, which will surely improve him moving forward anyway, regardless of what happens in the future. Hello to everybody that's coming in a little bit late as well. Lovely to see you in. Davies to Celtic on loan, then sold the rest of the season, said David Newell. That was the club that he was looking to join before Liverpool stepped in and snapped him up from Preston. There will be a new manager in Celtic, yes, and Eddie Howe is looking like the preferred candidate there. He's had positive talks, I think, with the Celtic camp with regards to that managerial position, but Eddie Howe has come out and said that whatever happens, he won't be taking any job until the summer, so we'll wait and see what happens. But look, I just thought I'd bring it up because somebody mentioned Ben Davies, so I thought it'd be worth throwing in there. What do we think of the Konate stuff, though? I mean, 40 million already seemed fairly cheap for me, but hearing Christian Falk coming out and saying, 32 to 34 and a half is actually the release clause, surely that just makes the lad even more appealing now to go out and sign. I know, again, we're always seeing people, every time I talk about Konate, I see people in the chat that are saying that he's got a bad injury record. Again, if you look into it in more depth, there's no denying he's missed a lot of football, but the majority of it seemed to be just one long injury that he was rushed back from, and it kept him out for, I think, the guts of a year pretty much. And he has had an ankle injury this season, which I think he missed about, I think somewhere about 46 days with, something like that. But outside of that, nothing out of the ordinary. So I wouldn't class somebody that young as being injury prone, but each to their own. I'm not telling you guys how to think about it, but if you just look into it a little bit in more depth, you do see that it was one real injury that just kept kind of carrying over for a while. I can't recall seeing Tsimikas play more than once, said Walter White. Kabak on a permanent deal would be better than Konate. Both, mate. I mean, for me, maybe I'm a bit greedy, buddy, but let's go with both, because you signed them both. And, we often talk and hear about Liverpool type signings, FSG type signings. Well, they are it, surely. Two 21-year-old centre-backs who can be gotten probably below their actual market value, and can be improved through coaching, can maybe be sold on down the line for a profit, or can be turned into superstars, or, certainly top level centre-backs alongside the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Gomez. So, for me, call me greedy, as I said, buddy, but I'd like us to go and sign the both of them. Yeah, you're going to have to work harder than that, Heather. Sorry, Jesus, that's the oldest attempted scam in the book, Heather. I get caught out occasionally, but you're going to have to do better than that, me old mucker. So, back to the drawing board, unfortunately, Heather. How do you know your player links are trustworthy? Clancy, how do I describe this without calling you an arsehole? I know who I speak to, and I know who the people that I'm close to speak to. And I never claim to have any inside knowledge, mate. I never claim to know what's going on behind the scenes. But you can either listen to what I have to say, make your own opinion on it, call me a dickhead, piss off, do whatever you want, mate. But I know who I trust. That's all I'm going to say. And I don't have to explain myself to you, fella. You asked me a question, I'm doing you the courtesy of answering it. But, do you see me going ITK? Do you see me on social media saying we're going to sign X, Y, and Z? Do you see me breaking exclusive stories? No. I wait till it's reported, and then I ask people that I know in the industry and people who they know in the industry. And sometimes I have good contacts, whether it be in Spain. Particularly Spain would be where I'd be strong with contacts of journalists and stuff like that. But, people on our podcast, Steve Bland has worked at the BBC, does know David Ornstein. We do have people we can speak with, mate. I do have people's phone numbers and WhatsApp groups that I can talk to certain journalists and stuff. But I never once come on here and say that this player is 100% going to sign. Never have, never will. It's not my way of going about it. So if you want to try and be a dickhead, mate, believe me, don't believe me, I couldn't give a fuck either way, pal. The channel's going to continue without you. So I just don't like your attitude, mate. I really don't. I'm here sharing news stories, usually telling everybody where the stories have come from, what publication. So yeah, there you are, mate. Like it, don't like it, listen, don't listen, couldn't care less, to be honest with you. Do you see Klopp at Liverpool in 5 years? No, I do believe he'll leave when this contract ends in 2024. I hope to goodness he stays on for longer and we continue to win and win and win, but I get a feeling from his own perspective, and with a lot of the emotional turmoil he's been through and the ups and downs and the rigours of everyday management, I think he might take that a little time away, like you spoke of. He's spoken about taking a break after he finishes with Liverpool, and I genuinely believe that he will do that. So I suppose the next question is, who comes in after Klopp? And look, we'll worry about that down the road, fella. Are Liverpool signing Konate? Heard the deal is off. When you say heard the deal is off, what you mean to say is, I read somebody say that the deal is off because somebody from Leipzig came out and said that they rang Liverpool and said that Liverpool had no interest in the player. Again, don't say heard it, you mean read it, because it was publicised by a lot of people. And I don't know if we'll sign him or not, mate. Again, all I'm saying to you is, I know we have an interest in the player. David Ornstein broke that story. It's out there for everybody to see. Again, Christian Falk today spoke about the release clause being lower than was originally believed at the €40 million mark, somewhere between 32 and 34. I don't know. Some people believe certain parts of his medical or certain things may or may not have been done. I cannot say with any absolute certainty whether that has or hasn't, because I don't have that definitive information, so I wouldn't give it out. But I can say we're interested in him, and I can say that we're interested in a few other centre-backs as well. I've long told you guys about, we've been monitoring Ben White. I've told you guys that a long time ago. I mentioned the name probably before anybody else mentioned it, which was Pau Torres, with somebody else that Liverpool, Manchester United and a few other clubs have looked at. Nobody gave me any credit on that, but I don't want any credit for it. I know what I know, and I know who I know, and I don't think I need to prove myself to anybody. Now, if I came on here saying we're going to sign this player or that player, fair enough, have a go at me. But that's not the way I go about things. I come in, we open up a topic of conversation, I ask you guys your opinion on the situation, and we have a little back and forth, and that's the way the show works. Like it or don't like it, mate. That's it, and you're never going to find anybody who's going to tell you their sources, mate. I mean, not that I claim to have sources, but you're never going to find anyone, because otherwise you wouldn't be trusted. Nobody would believe, nobody that would tell you anything would ever tell you again. So, I mean, believe me, don't believe me, go follow the fucking tap-in merchant Fabrizio Romano, who was second to every story if you want. I couldn't give a shite, mate. Mbappé or Haaland, I don't know of any... No, I don't know of, again, not saying it's not true, of any serious interest in Haaland from us. With regards to following up on it, obviously we'll know about him. We know that his father and his agent flew into London. We know Liverpool have offices in London, and we know that they spoke to other clubs. We know they spoke to Barcelona and Real Madrid. But that's all I know. I don't know. I'm sure Klopp would love to work with Haaland, but I get the distinct impression that one of Haaland and Mbappé is going to end up in Spain at least, in my opinion. There's a lot of talk as well coming out from the French side that Kylian Mbappé wants to hook up with Zinedine Zidane, which, look, is no secret. You know, we've known for a long time that Zidane's his idol, but you wonder how could Real Madrid perhaps finance that deal with regards to his wages and stuff, with the current predicament they're in with regards to finances. They're redoing the Bernabeu this season as things stand, which is why they're playing into the Stefano Arena. So I don't know where all these clubs are getting the money from. I mean, Manchester City, we know, can go and buy a player if they want to, but you've also heard Guardiola saying that they won't be signing any superstars this summer or any I think he's something around, he was talking about the forward position, saying something along the lines of he might have to look from within the club or something along those lines. But again, the summer will tell us what happens. You know, like all of you, I'm living in hope for a dream transfer, the Mbappé thing. I spoke about it at length yesterday, and we're going to have to wait and see, really. I mean, the realistic players, we know we need a Gini Wijnaldum replacement. I mean, people can say Curtis Jones, but to me, in the squad, Jones took Lallana's place. Now, I don't mean like for like player, but I mean a midfielder for a midfielder. So I already seen Jones as the Lallana replacement. So I do think if and when Gini Wijnaldum moves on, as I always say, you should go with a thank you, a pat on the back for a job well done. But we do need to go and look for somebody to replace him. Loads of different options out there. I don't know if Klopp's going to be looking for a 10 like a Houssem Aouar or somebody. If he's going to be looking for a box-to-box midfielder. If he's going to be looking... I don't know. Again, there's going to be lots of stuff out there, and we're going to have lots of fun over the summer, going in, having a conversation and trying to pick the bones out of it and see what we think. What do I think about Mane? In what way? I mean, I think he's not going through the best of form at the minute, but, you know, all players have dips. I love all of our front four, mate. I mean, there's not one of them that I will, you know, speak against, because they've all given us wonderful moments and are all extremely talented footballers. I did talk at length yesterday about the whole Salah situation, but that was only because of the quotes attributed to him and the potential of maybe bringing in a superstar, and I was trying to weigh up one against the other. But Sadio Mané, I love Sadio Mané, and there is something actually, while we're on Sadio, I want to bring up a piece today that I read that says, again, I read it in the Echo, but I think it's attributed to a European based, I've only got part of the article open here in front of me. And it says this: the article states that Mane and Firmino are two of the Liverpool players who lead the faction of stars in believing their colleague is privileged, talking about Mohamed Salah here. The report adds that the Red Zero believe that Salah does not do as much off the ball work as other players in the team, and has been reported that Mane in particular has been annoyed with Salah in the past for a perceived selfishness in the Egyptian international's forward play. And then they go on to say it's funny how publications some 1,200 miles away from Merseyside are able to provide such an inside track on the supposed supposed machinations of Anfield's inner sanctum, but no such whispers are heard around the parts, which is exactly it. Like, I mean, I told you guys before, there's going to be a lot of shithousery between the two legs at Madrid, a lot of trying to destabilise our players, a lot of trying to pit us against each other, pit us against the players, and I wouldn't believe a word of it, because every time an English club gets drawn against a Spanish club, this is what happens. Whatever the Spanish club's mouthpiece is, whether it's Marca or whatever, they go out there and they put stories out there linking their club with one of our players, and it's an age-old thing. I mean, don't fall for it at this point. But yeah, to answer your question, I like Mane, but I would rest him for this game at the weekend because I don't think he's been himself, and I don't know what that reason is. Carl, how are you, buddy? Ken said, hope everybody is well, and hello, thank you very much, buddy, and I hope you and Julie are keeping well. What do you think about Liverpool being in the race for Ryan Gravenberch? Yeah, I mean, that again, another, if we're talking about potential FSG type signings, mate, 18 years of age, Ajax player. The only thing I would worry about there is, would he be ready to come in and really fight for a place in their midfield at 18? I mean, I know footballers are getting younger and younger, but you'd be replacing somebody just about to hit 30 years of age there, international player, has been there, done it at the highest level for his country and his club, with a young player. Now, a very, very talented young player. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't play for Ajax unless you're legit, but it's interesting, and it does fit in with the style of way we go about transfers, but I just wonder would it be like the right replacement for Gini, or would somebody maybe 23, 24 with a bit more experience work? I mean, that's why Kloppo gets paid the big bucks, I suppose, mate, to walk that tight line and make those decisions if he has enough experience in the dressing room. Do you keep Jimmy Milner on for the extra year as an example, or make sure you keep Milner on for the extra year just in case you do need that experience? These are all factors that I'm sure Klopp, Pep Linders and the rest of the coaching and recruitment staff will be weighing up when they're looking at all these options. But Gravenberch is definitely somebody who I've seen his name mentioned. Again, not going to claim to have seen much of the lad. He's only 18. Who do you think will leave Liverpool? You say think. Sometimes, mate, I think it's hope. Because for me, I've said it before, Origi, Shaqiri, whether people want to hear it or not, both available to be moved on. Grujic looks like he'll be moved on in the summer. Wilson probably, if he can find a buyer. Gini Wijnaldum will be leaving. Adrian's contract is up. What happens there, I don't know. There's been words coming from him to suggest that he may sign on for another year as potentially third choice. That I don't know. Other than that, I don't really see the need for too many outgoings because, we'll have already lost Gini, so we need to replace that midfielder. An argument around, the centre-back thing is being sorted out. We can see that playing in front of us, whether it be Kabak, Kabak somebody else, both of them, just Kabak, that remains to be seen. Somebody else perhaps that we haven't spoken about yet. The interesting one for me though is a point somebody raised last night around the situation with Trent at right back. What do we do with Nico? Is Nico going to be enough to really push Trent on and challenge him? Because we've seen with Manchester United as an example, with Luke Shaw, when they brought Alex Telles in, Luke Shaw seems to have really upped his game under the pressure of Telles breathing down his neck, and maybe a similar thing would help Trent. Or of course there's the age-old argument about maybe moving Trent into midfield and going out there and looking for a completely different right back, but the honest answer is I don't know, but they're all valid points and they're all valid conversation topics that I think fans should be discussing. Thoughts on Marcel Sabitzer? Interesting one. I mean, there seems to be a lot of talk about the Leipzig captain. Mourinho's apparently wants him at Spurs. He has been linked with Liverpool. In these type of scenarios, though, I often get to feel, Dabrowski plays that it's his agent talking up a potential move and trying to link players with big clubs around England and Europe. It's no secret that, the money is in England at this moment in time. You may see Madrid or Juventus or Barca pull off the odd transfer this summer, but right now the steady money seems to be with the Premier League clubs. They seem to be the financial powerhouses of Europe, outside of Bayern Munich, of course, who are always and always will be a very well run, profitable club. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if he's good enough, to be honest with you, as well. I mean, I've seen Sabitzer a bit, but he would strike me as more of a potential Spurs signing than a Liverpool signing, if I'm being honest with you. But again, I don't know if it's down to agent stuff or not. Will we win the will we win the Champions League? Mate, your guess is as good as mine. I was very bullish going into the first leg against Real Madrid. I was very confident that we would we would get something from the game. And I suppose in a way we did. We got the away goal, but I did not expect that first 45 minutes. It shocked me, it really did, and it angered me, as you've seen, I'm sure, if you were on the watch along. So it's very difficult to predict because we don't know what Liverpool's going to show up, do we? You know, it's tough. And we've seen us come and play well against Arsenal, but it was a very bang average Arsenal team who just didn't show up. And then you've seen us start slowly and give Toni Kroos the type of space you can't give him. And we've seen Vinicius Jr. tear us to shreds down the left-hand side for them. And we need to sort that out ahead of the second leg. So it'll be interesting. You know, we may go and beat Villa tomorrow, we may not. But let's say we do beat Villa and let's say we beat them and we play well. There's nothing to necessarily say we're going to carry that into Wednesday because, you know, we've been a bit stop-start. So I'm really nervous. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible we can get past Madrid. Chelsea, obviously the massive favourites, having gone over to Porto and won 2-0. So, you know, you'd imagine they'd be awaiting in the semi-final. But it's a big task. It's a difficult task, especially with no fans inside Anfield. I cannot go back and mention how important that away goal is, though, because it's the difference between Madrid scoring 1 and us getting 3 and maybe going to extra time, or Madrid scoring 1 and, you know, if they beat us 2-0, we'd need to score 4. So it is an important away goal, but it's a shame we couldn't have at least kept it at the 2-1. You'd have felt far more confident, or far more, you know, you can never rule Liverpool out of anything. You know, we've been counted out before, we've come back and done it, but I suppose there's only so many times you can go to the well, isn't there? There's only so many times you can muster up, and if you do think about the Barcelona comebacks, the Olympiacos game, semi-final first leg against Chelsea, you always think of, semi-final second leg against Chelsea, you always think of the crowd. The crowd always play a massive factor, and we know Anfield's going to be empty. So honestly, mate, I don't know. I'm nervous about it. I won't lie. It's a huge game against a huge side, and we're capable of it. But I won't go into the game as confident as I normally would be with the fans there. Diving header, yeah, I know. I thought you would like that at the time when I was doing it. It was important that I kept the body still for that. You know, it wouldn't have been as good if I didn't. Seriously underestimated how good their midfield really is. A couple of things on that, Jeremiah. Of course, you look at the calibre of Kroos and Modric, and yes, world class, no doubt about it, but we made them look better as well by allowing them so much time, and they man-marked Fabinho out of the game. But what we need to do against Madrid is not give Kroos and Modric the time on the ball. We need to be pressing them quicker, which is maybe why Klopp went with Keita and Wijnaldum, because if we think of Keita and Wijnaldum, we think of players who have good engines, players who will run and run and run. But we didn't. We gave them too much time on the ball. And that also needs assistance from the front. So we need to have Firmino, Jota, Mane, Salah, whoever starts in that front 3 or 4. We need them tracking back and pressing as well. We need Trent getting all the help that he can get on the right-hand side with Vinicius Jr. and Mondi maybe bombing down that wing again. These are all things that we should have known before the game. They probably would have talked about before the game, but we didn't show up. Much better in the second half. Came to grips with the game better. Thiago came on. We wrestled back, controlled the ball a bit more. But we can't allow them to. We can't allow us to start that slowly and them to have that much time on the ball. Our pressing game needs to be at it, and these players need to run themselves ragged and into the ground to make sure that you can't give a player by the calibre of Kroos that much time when we play a high defensive line to just ping a ball over the top with the speed of Vinicius Jr. It's a recipe for disaster. We need to start Bobby in midfield. I think we're going to see the 4 personally for the Madrid game. You know, touch wood, there's no injuries around. And I think you're going to see the 4 of them starting. I think you're going to see Jota, Firmino, Mane, Salah in the front 4 with Thiago, Fabinho in the midfield too. That's my guess for the game against Real Madrid. No matter what else happens between now and the weekend with regards to form or anything, I think Klopp will go with those 4. And I think he has to go with those 4. A lot of you made a good point. We need the work rate of Jota. We need the work rate of Firmino and the legs that both have. Any academy players catch your eye? That's a Jack Gill question. Jack Gill looks at the academy far more than I do, mate. He runs an academy page as well. So, you know, I'll ask Jack that on the next stream, or I'll ask Jack, because honestly, I don't have the time to keep up with the academy stuff as much as Jack would. So, I will ask Jack on that one for you though, mate. Henderson is as big a loss as Van Dijk, says Cave. No doubt about it, mate. Losing El Capitan is has been another difficult loss, because one thing we lacked in Madrid, as well as the things we pointed out, was any leadership. Because Wijnaldum was invisible as a captain, absolutely invisible. And what you get with Jordan Henderson or Virgil van Dijk is that voice, that leadership. Jimmy Milner not afraid to do it as well, by the way. You do need somebody out there barking orders, getting in the referee's ear, talking players through the defensive line, telling players when to push up, just basically constantly being the Klopp's voice on the pitch. And we didn't get that from Gini. I mean, this whole handing the armband to the most senior player thing, it's Klopp's way of doing it, and, you know, I can't argue with the manager, but for me, he definitely shouldn't be getting the armband. I mean, we need a leader out there on Wednesday night. We need somebody to really go out there and talk the players through the game, grab the game with the scruff of the neck where it's needed to, and take no prisoners. So for me, if you're asking me right now, put that armband on Fabinho. That's what I'd say for the game. Milner is a true leader. Honestly, he is. I agree with you, mate. But I don't know if we'll see him... Well, unless he starts at left back, I don't know if we'll see him start the game, because, you know, are you going to drop... We have to, in my opinion, and it is just that, start with the front four. I mean, Bobby has to be in there for his legs, and then you'll need Thiago, Fabinho, so where do you squeeze Jimmy Milner in? Robbo should be captain. Well, he was invisible, George, so again, why make somebody who wasn't talking out there and was invisible against Madrid captain as well? Just because he's captain for Scotland, I don't know. I see the work rate in Robbo. I always love the lad, don't get me wrong, but he's not in his best moment, whether it be through tiredness or whatever, so I don't think giving Robbo the armband wouldn't be my choice anyway. Just all I can give you is my opinion. Will we win against Madrid? I think we'll win the game, Angelo. It's just a matter of, or Agnello, excuse me. It's just a matter of if we'll get through in the tie or not. I mean, you know, us winning 3-2, is it worth that to us? Is it? We're going to go out then. So, will we win? I would think we've a good chance of winning on the night, but will it be enough to go through? Will we get the aggregate result? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. What else we got? A couple of more people in the chat. It was obvious, wasn't it? Like, attack Trent. Yeah, they were always going to mark. It was clear. They were always going to attack. A lot of teams do it. And it's not just that they attack Trent, by the way. I mean, it's easy for us, and sometimes lazy for some people, myself included, to point out that, okay, Trent's caught forward a lot of the time. Now, I was screaming at Trent because he wasn't tracking back at one point when he gave the ball away and it did my head in, but he also needs the protection. So we need to make sure Henderson on the pitch always drops in and covers Trent. Always. We need more of that from whoever's in midfield. We need Salah breaking his nuts to get back as well. We need Mane coming back and helping. We need to be doubling up on every time Madrid get the ball, whether it be in the left or right channel. We need to be doubling up on them exactly like they do to Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mané when we attack. Or any team does to Sadio Mané and Mohamed Salah when we attack. We need to be doing that, and sometimes there just wasn't as much want or energy, and it could be down to energy levels, it could be down to mental fatigue, I don't know, but there wasn't enough tracking back and enough cover provided, and it annoyed me, and it annoyed you lot as well, I'm sure. What have we got? Trent stood off Vinicius too many times. Again, you can't be allowing Trent to be one-on-one with Vinicius. You can't. He isn't somebody like let's look at the United. He's not somebody like what's his face? Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who you would say going forward not as good as Trent, but one-on-one is one of the best fullbacks I've seen in a while for getting his tackle in and not letting his man beat him. Trent can be beaten, so that's why we need the support there. We need two players to cover to help Trent out, and I think that's, that getting that balance right is very difficult though, because you're talking about how do you counter attack at pace then as well, because if you have a Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mané tracking back to double up and help out our fullbacks, then we need a link man there. So we need somebody who, like Firmino or Jota or Thiago, who can very quickly release one of the players, and then you have to get Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mané bombing forward again and trying. It's about committing enough men forward, and that's the balancing act that's very difficult, especially when you're chasing a tie like we're going to be against Real Madrid. Do you go for it early, try and swamp them, try and swarm them, try and catch them off, but have the chance of being caught on the counter with the pace of Vinicius Jr., or do you do you try and keep the game compact, maybe try and sneak one in the first half and then maybe let the doubts creep in? I don't know. It's a balancing act, and it's where fans really, really do impact football. We also need a strong referee, by the way, for the second game, and not somebody like that clown who screwed over both teams in the first leg. I'm not saying we were more hard done by the Madrid. I think they should have had a penalty, but Felix Birch was awful in that first leg for both teams. Thiago's pace is terrible as well. But we know that. He's not brought in for his pace, mate. Thiago is brought in as a kind of, I don't want to say a regista, but he's brought in to keep things moving, to link up to play, to move the ball, to change the angle, to pivot in midfield very quickly, maybe unlock a defence with a little sneaky ball around. He wasn't brought in for his blister and pace. We do that. We know that when we signed the lad, so we can't be critical of him for something that he was never brought in to do, if you get where I'm coming from. Do you think Mane is suffering from COVID after effects because he was playing amazing? I don't know. There are certain human beings, certain people that do get longer COVID, mate. Yep, and it can take their bodies longer to recover. I don't know the answer to that in Mane's situation. Only Sadio would know. What the physical, and I'm sure the medical staff, of course, as well, would know what way he recovered. I don't know, mate. I couldn't tell you. I'd be guessing. Replacement for Wijnaldum if he were to leave. Again, you go the whole gamut, mate, from Gravenberch to the guy from Borussia Mönchengladbach to somebody like what's his name, Nicolo Barella, to somebody like who's the other guy we were linked with? Sander Berg. I know it's a different type of midfielder completely there, but this is what I'm talking about. Do we go for an 8? Do we go for a box-to-box midfielder? Do we go for a 10? There was a few others as well. The Rodrigo, De Paul. There's been probably 8 to 10 names I've seen linked with us and a midfielder. So, there's no shortage of midfield options out there. What's your dream transfer this summer? Mbappé, obviously, mate. I mean, he said dream, so it's definitely got to be Mbappé. Love the green screen design, thank you, but I give shout outs where Drew Drawdy designed this one for us. We've said that before. Drawdy was amazing, did this one for us, so yeah, massive shout out to Drawdy. Hal Sharp said, I think we need to win the rest of the games and we'll get top 4. What do you think? So there's 24 points to play for. I think 20 points will get us top 4. That would maybe allow 2 draws. I mean, ideally you'd want to win them all, of course, but we've United away. It's going to be a difficult game. I think I'd be very confident with 7 wins out of 8 we'd get top 4. But again, a lot of it depends on the little mini league that's going on between the likes of Leicester, West Ham, Spurs, Everton. There's a lot of if, ands and maybes, but the path will become clearer, the possibilities will become clearer over the next couple of weeks. But all we can do at this moment in time is try and take care of our own business, and that starts with the game against Aston Villa tomorrow. Sell Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. I mean, I've got to be honest, yes, I wouldn't be against it. Love the lad. I mean, I'd imagine he's great in and around the club. Really positive presence. Really nice guy. Always puts a smile on people's faces. Was a massive part of our run to the Champions League final in 2018. But I kind of get where you're coming from. But the only problem there is, who do we move him on to and how much is he worth? With the injury record that he has, he hasn't had a massive impact for us when he's been used this season. I think it's a fair point, though. I mean, I think it's certainly something that, as grown-ass people, we should be looking to discuss. I just wonder where he'd go or how much we get for him. And again, you have to balance the amount of senior players that are currently at the club. Whether we like it or not, it is a true thing. Having Milners or Oxlade-Chamberlains or those senior Wijnaldums, those senior pros in and around a mix of good young up and coming talent is what's needed, really. So you've got to balance how many players you're losing, the experience you have there, making sure you still have those experienced heads in the dressing room. Move on, Keita. Again, there was what was I talking about yesterday? There was a piece that suggested that, was it Leicester? I think it was Leicester, if I remember correctly from a few days ago. There was a piece suggesting that maybe Leicester were interested in Naby Keita. I don't know. Personally, if we were to sell any players, I always prefer if we shipped them out of the Premier League, particularly somebody like Keita who could potentially come back to bite you in the arse, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of this is conjecture. I don't know. None of us know what way the market's going to be this summer. Will we see more player plus cash deals, more swap deals, more loans with an option to buy deal? It's going to be really intriguing. This is going to be a very active window, I think, for not just us, for a lot of clubs. What is the Aston Villa prediction? Video's up on the channel, mate. Feel free to give it a watch afterwards. It's only 8 and a bit minutes long, I think it is, or maybe it's 10 minutes long. But yeah, I went up earlier on today, buddy. So in the first 5 minutes are my score prediction and predicted 11 prediction. So give it a watch, and you'll be helping us out that way as well. Ain't Genie pronounced Vinaldum? I think it's Wijnaldum. If my guess is right, which it usually are right, which it usually isn't, David, in fairness. I mean, if I'm known for butchering that on here, it's pronunciations, but I thought it was Wijnaldum, but I could be completely wrong. But that's why I call him Genie anyway. Will Grealish be available? No, he's been ruled out of the game for Villa. Do you think we should bring Coutinho back? Absolutely not. My point about Coutinho is not just the way he left, by the way, and yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed by that, but he's done fuck all since he's left. He's gone to Bayern Munich. They had an option to buy him. They'd no interest in him. He's worked under different managers at Barcelona who don't really want to use him. And he's also ruled out for the rest of the season. So, no, not a hope in hell would I take Coutinho back, mate. I'd much rather move on. He's like, what is he now, 27, 28? So, no, for me. I think there's much better value to be had out there. Spot on, Craig. That's exactly how you pronounce Wijnaldum. There you go. That's what I thought. I mean, I try and listen to other commentators and how they pronounce it, but I butcher every name. I have a go pronounce it. I'm terrible at pronunciations. Who's my favourite Liverpool player? Bobby. It's always been Bobby, mate. I mean, I know he's not going through the greatest season, but that doesn't stop me loving the fella. No, I'll critique him, of course. If he hasn't performed, I'll say he hasn't performed, but Bobby's my favourite player. Coutinho couldn't wait to leave Liverpool whilst, feigning injuries and disrupting the squad and breaking promises that he gave that he'd stay and see out the season. And look, I don't want to go back over the Coutinho stuff. Melissa Reddy at the time wrote an excellent piece on it. I think she was writing for Goal at the time, but if you Google Melissa Reddy Coutinho article, she wrote an absolutely brilliant piece on the whole thing, explaining that he even went on and tried to get some senior pros to try and approach Klopp to try and, get him an exit route out of the club, and that seemed to be, if I remember the article correctly, the last straw. So it was a brilliant article, and I'd definitely say have a read of it if you haven't already. Bobby deserves one more year. I don't think Klopp has any intention of selling Bobby for me, though, mate. I really don't. Can you repeat what happened with Konate? Certainly, no problem, mate. Did the deal fall through? Not that I'm aware of. Now, there is, it's not a report. It's out there that somebody from Leipzig said that they rang Liverpool and Liverpool said no interest, but Liverpool don't have to register any interest. Liverpool just have to trigger the release clause, and there's sweet Fanny Adams that Leipzig can do about it. And because he's 1 year left on his contract as well, they're not going to let him go for free. Now, the story that's the headline of today's stream is around Christian Falk from Build saying that the release clause for Konate is actually around 32.5 to 34.5 million euro and not the 40 million euro that we'd all believed it was. So even less so. So maybe even more appealing of an option for Liverpool and United and other clubs that are on the lookout for a centre back and have been linked with him. That was the guts of it, really, mate. Do I like United? Of course not. I'm a Liverpool fan. I mean, I don't hate anybody, but do I like United? No, I'm a Liverpool fan, mate. I'm a Liverpool fan. I respect the clubs, two of the biggest clubs in England. I have a begrudging respect for Manchester United and their accomplishments, but of course I don't like them. I'm a Liverpool fan. I I'll cover the games on Monday Sport and I'll be entirely neutral, like I always will be on there, because that's, what I'm there to do. But I'm a Liverpool fan, mate. It's a very, I don't think you find any United fan that will say they like Liverpool, or any Liverpool fan that will say they like United, mate. There's a begrudging respect there, because both clubs have achieved a lot and both clubs have been very helpful to each other over the years, behind the scenes, during tragedies and stuff like that as well. But yeah, of course, I'm a Liverpool fan. Daka or Malin, who would you take? I don't know enough about the PSV Eindhoven guy. I don't know enough about Malin, mate. I haven't watched enough of him to give you a genuine answer, but I have seen a fair bit of Patson Daka, whether it be through YouTube clips, playing Liverpool's friendlies against them, and a few bits and pieces I've watched, to know that at 25 million-ish, I think that would be a very astute piece of business for any club. So whether it's Liverpool or not, I can comment on Daka, and I think I wouldn't mind him one bit at that price point. I think it's a fairly risk-free transfer. I respect Manchester United more than I do Manchester City. I would absolutely echo that sentiment from Doug. 100% echo that sentiment. Would I take Aouar? Yes, definitely. Definitely would. I mean, Arsenal tried to get him at the end of last season. We know, though, that dealing with Jean-Michel Aulas, the Leon president, I have a nickname for him on the channel, which, OG on the channels might remember. We called him Johnny Cunty Locks. He's very difficult negotiator. But yes, I would take Houssem Aouar, mate. Definitely, in a heartbeat. Sander Berg from Sheffield United. Yes, we've been linked with him, Ahmed. Again, another one I think Mourinho's been linked with at Spurs. And I kind of, get the feeling that this could be agent talk, trying to big up the player. But if he was, even if Sheffield United, which they look doomed to go down, they're adamant that they want to make a profit on what they paid for him. So, again, we'll wait and see what the summer brings. But a player that has been linked, yeah. Aouar or Sabitzer? Aouar every day of the week for me, Walter, mate. Every day of the week. Again, just my opinion, but I take Houssem Aouar. Mane, Origi and Oxlade-Chamberlain equals 120 million. Does it? I mean, I can't say if it does or doesn't, mate. We've been trying to get rid of Origi for a year and a half. Haven't been able to find a buyer. Oxlade-Chamberlain, as we spoke about earlier on, even if the club were to decide to move him on, I don't know if they will or won't. I don't know if where you get the maths from there, but for me, if you're pointing towards Kylian Mbappé there, again, I'll reiterate what I said yesterday. What I said yesterday. If you're going after Kylian Mbappé, if that's the superstar that you want, there's only one way of going about that. If you have to move a forward on, you're not going to like what I'm going to say next, but it's right. The only one who could probably make those numbers add up is Mohamed Salah, because he's our most valuable asset. He's the player that gives vibes maybe of a potential another chapter in his career. So if you're going to want Kylian Mbappé, to me, the only way you're getting him is by moving on your highest earner and your most valuable asset, which is Mohamed Salah, and reinvesting the transfer fee plus probably a few quid more, and those 220 odd or 200 grand a week wages, which he still leaves you a whole lot short, to be fair, on Kylian Mbappe's wages that he'd be able to command. So you'd have to look at potential image rights thing. Could you do a deal with Nike around shirt sales? Some stuff that I'm sure is way above all of our pay grades as well. But for me, that the only way that you're going to be looking at a Kylian Mbappé is if a Salah was to move on. That's the guts honest truth, whether people want to hear it from me or not. That's the only way you could probably afford it. Unless, of course, we get an absolute super surprise from FSG and suddenly they use some of that $750 million and bang it down to buy a world-class talent. We'd be all delighted with that, wouldn't we? For none of the forwards to go anywhere and add Mbappe in, I think we'd all be over the moon. But, the way I'm basing my thought process off the way the football club has been run since the owners have been in. And again, I am not saying I want Mohamed Salah to go, so don't be putting me out of context or trying to put words in my mouth. I'm just saying, if you want to get Mbappe, in my opinion, the way the club's currently run that's feasible is by cashing in on your most valuable asset. Harvey Elliott, interesting one on that one, Tom. Interesting to see what we do. Obviously, he's been at Blackburn under Tony Mowbray. They've had they've been in free fall actually, but his performances have still been doing okay. I don't know what's going to happen with Harvey. I mean, will the club maybe give him a Premier League loan next year? Will Klopp? I know what for certain. I'm sure that he'll get the pre-season with the team. Klopp will look at him. You know, they'll get some pre-season friendlies. They'll watch him. They'll see how much he's progressed, and then they'll sit down with him and they'll make a decision. Now, I don't know what that decision is yet. Whether the plan would be perhaps a Premier League loan or maybe to ease him in throughout the season. I don't know. But we have a young talent on our hands there. We really do. No matter what happens next season, Elliott's going to be a Liverpool player that we'll be talking about for years to come. The Brighton right back left full is a great talent. We're talking about young, the guy from that was at Chelsea. What's his name again? I can't remember his name now. Lamptey, isn't it? Tarek Lamptey. Is that the guy you're talking about? He looks a great talent, and the only reason he didn't really get a breakthrough with Chelsea there was because Reece James. Neto or Daka? Well, one's more of a kind of wide forward, mate. In our system, it's a tough one, that, you know. It's a good question. It's a tough one. Probably Pedro Neto. I like the bit of shithousery he has. He gives off vibes of a kind of Firmino, Jota-esque kind of run hard, a little bit of petulance about him, which I like in a footballer. It's not the straight number 9 that we'd be talking about there with Daka, somebody, you know, pace through the middle, banging goals, but there is an argument for putting maybe Salah through the centre. I've always said that. No problem putting Mohamed Salah as the one striker through the centre and bringing in somebody like a Pedro Neto or Rafinha or somebody like that to play in a wide position. You might even be able to switch Sadio Mané back over to his favourite side, which was the right hand side, which he gave up then when Mohamed Salah came in. Right, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call that one a night, but I will be here tomorrow. So the match kicks off at 3. I'll be live at about 2 with the build-up and the watch-along. We'll have a post-match show then as well. I'll be jumping over to Mundo Sporto then tomorrow night for El Clasico. I hope you guys can join me for that one. There is a link to Mundo Sporto in the description below. Make sure to drop a like on the stream. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, please do so. And most importantly, have yourselves a lovely Friday night and lots of love to all of you. And I will talk to you wonderful people tomorrow. Take care.